mayhem, monsters, movie making, just enough entertainment to allow you to make it through without checking your phone. But is Minions and Monsters a great movie, or is it something that you can wait for streaming? Let's find out. Minions and Monsters is the 7th film in the Despicable Me franchise, and it's the 3rd Minions movie, followed by Minions and Minions The Rise of Gru. Personally, I didn't see The Rise of Gru, but I have seen Minions, and Minions, in my opinion, was absolutely terrible. But I did enjoy the first couple of Despicable Me movies. This is written and directed by Pierre Coffin, who also voices the majority of our Minion characters. So this Minions movie follows 3 new sets of Minions: James, Henry, and Ed, compared to Kevin Stewart and Bob. We do get a little tease with Kevin Stewart and Bob later on in this movie, but we'll discuss that later. So basically they're trying to find their big bad villain that they are going to be following, just like every other Minions movie. Except this now takes place in the rise of Hollywood in 1920s and 30s. This movie actually is more like 2 short films put into one. The first half is absolutely enjoyable. It is a homage and a love letter to Hollywood itself, whether it is little Easter eggs here and there in a museum that includes E.T., Jaws, George Lucas, The Bride of Frankenstein, The Mummy, and others, or whether it is them recreating certain scenes through Casablanca, All's Quiet on the Midnight Front, and more. This part of the movie I actually felt more into. You had more aspects of what it's like to be a filmmaker and a director in a Hollywood environment. They even have their own little Warner Brothers people in their own studio business that is played by Jeff Bridges. And it's interesting because they show the negative side of Hollywood and the everybody's best friend in Hollywood. And in this first half, we are introduced into the filmmaking aspect. And it is Max, who is played by Christoph Waltz, who is the director. Yes, this is a fantastic actor in a Minions movie. They didn't bear no expenses on this movie. So Christoph Waltz is a silent film movie director, and he is making this heist movie, and the Minions end up interjecting in it, and he's absolutely frustrated. He's sending them away and whatnot. But everybody loves the Minions, including old school Hollywood. So what we realize is when it comes to silent films, the Minions are fantastic. But as soon as they introduce the sound quality into a film, that's where people start pushing the Minions away to an extent. And that is where we get into our second half of the movie, and that is more so the monster side of the Minions. And James is a visual creative mindset who he ends up working on a project to make his movie Monsters and Minions. However, he also gets blindsided by a lot of that creativity and the stress that comes with making a movie, that he ends up ignoring certain things. And we end up getting a character, Gooby, who is channeled through a magical book, who looks like a miniature Cthulhu, and he's played by Trey Parker. Gooby is an interesting character. This is partially the area where I didn't really love per se, because outside of Gooby, the monsters were very forgettable. However, I will say in the second half, the shining star was Jesse Eisenberg's Dort. And it's interesting because they do play a lot of tropes among classic sci-fi versus horror movies in the early days. We have one take on the Blob versus a take on old school alien movies. And this was entertaining, but it just wasn't captivating to me. And yes, it is a Minions movie. It's made for kids and whatnot. I really enjoyed the first Despicable Me. I will say this movie is on another level compared to the original Minions movie. It's not quite on that Despicable Me 1 or 2 level, in my opinion, but it is enjoyable. I will say, the one thing that I got the biggest chuckle from was the post-credit scenes. And that is where we start seeing our original Minions, as well as Gru, and a bunch of the other original Despicable Me characters in there. So, Minions and Monsters, in my opinion, it is a solid movie. It is not a fantastic movie. It is worth watching in theaters if you have small kids. I guarantee you they will enjoy it, and some of them will actually get into that whole mindset of how movies are made to an extent. But outside of that, it is definitely a catch-on streaming type of movie. Minions and Monsters. Have you seen it? What's your thoughts on that movie? And if you have seen it, what was your favorite scene in the movie? Go ahead and let me know down in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this type of content, go ahead and share, subscribe, and like this.